Good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Trust you're doing great. Trust you're having a great day. Trust your day is going on according to plan. All right. This is an afternoon section, so we're going to have it great this afternoon. And woo! It is a new series section. New series start. We're starting off a new series, kicking off a new series today. And guess what? This is going to be mind blowing, I promise you. There's so many interesting thoughts lined up for this series. And the title of this series is Are You Living or Performing? Are you living or performing? And I'd like to jump into episode one quickly so that we can just take it off. Uh, Episode one is around the idea or the theme of the exhausting cost of becoming who everybody wanted instead of who you really are. You know, the exhausting cost of becoming who everybody wanted. So, friends, I want to begin with a question, not a casual question, not a religious question, not a motivational question, um, not a question you answer quickly and move on from, okay? A question that can disturb you if you let it, a question that can uncover things, a question that can expose the difference between the life people see and the life you actually live in. So, without much ado, here's the question: Are you living or are you performing? I want to say it again because I want it to sink. Are you living or are you performing? Because those two things can look the same from a distance, they can look the same from afar. From the outside, performance can look like maturity. From the outside, performance can look like responsibility. From the outside, performance can look like discipline. It can look like success. It can look like faithfulness. But inside, performance feels different. Inside, performance feels heavy. It feels tight. It feels edited. It feels exhausting. It feels careful. It feels managed. It feels like you're always slightly away from yourself. You're always adjusting yourself to fit a mold. You're always betraying yourself. And some of you listening to me tonight, and those that are going to watch this replay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you've become very good at appearing okay. You've become very good at showing up. You've become very good at handling things. You've become very good at carrying weight that are not yours to carry. You've become very good at saying the right things at the right time. Oh, you've become very good at smiling when you need to smile. But deep down, when the noise is gone, when everybody is out of where you are tired in a way that nothing about sleep can handle, can solve. And that's what I want to talk about today, this afternoon. I want to dwell on that. Because, see, maybe you're not just tired from work, maybe you're tired from performing. Maybe you're tired from constantly being the version of yourself that gets the fewest questions, the version that causes the least disruption, the version that disappoints the least people, the version that stays useful, the version that stays controlled. the version that stays acceptable and accepted. And if that's the case, then this is a this you are in a situation that is bigger than stress. This is identity confusion. This is soul level fatigue. This is the pain of carrying a life that may look good from the outside, but does not feel true on the inside. And I believe there are people listening now, and those that are going to watch this later, who have been surviving by performance for so long. You have been surviving by performance for a very long time. And you can't even remember when it started. You can't even remember when you started anymore. You do not even remember when this role took over. You do not even remember when this smile became automatic. You do not even remember when the legendary "I am fine," oh, I am fine, the automatic "I'm fine" became a reflex. You do not remember anymore. You do not remember when approval became more important than honesty. You've been carrying it for too long. Performance. You do not remember when being loved became confused with being useful. You do not even remember when peace became confused with silence. It's been too long. But you know what? You feel it. You feel it in the tiredness. You feel it in the numbness. You feel it in the quiet resentment. You feel it in the disconnect. You feel it in the way you cannot fully relax inside the life you have created. Man, that is painful. It is very, very painful. Because one of the most confusing things a person can experience is looking at a life that makes sense on paper and still they feel lost inside that life. Hello, Rosie. Thanks for joining. You have a good job. You have a respectable image in the society. You have a stable routine. You have a decent reputation. A life people admire, but still you feel like a stranger inside this life. That's what performance does. That's the effect of performance. It lets you build a life that earns approval. Otta Emmanuel, thanks for joining. It lets you build a life that earns approval while your soul quietly disappears from that life. And today, I don't want to just motivate somebody. I want to confront this. I want to hold up a mirror. I want you to be honest with yourself. Because if you're going to heal, first and foremost, you must tell the truth. You must tell yourself the truth. And if you're going to come back to yourself, you have to stop hiding behind what works. So I'm asking you again, and this time I want it to sit with you heavier and longer. Are you living or are you performing? That is the question. You see, today is not about motivation, right? Because I always say on this channel, it's not every day, it's not all about motivation, because that's not what you need every day. Sometimes you need honesty. This message is not for fake people, okay? And we always say this channel is not for entertainment, it's for real talk. This message is for real people who get tired, real people who started out sincerely and somewhere along the line they became strategic. Real people who did not mean to disappear, but slowly they became who they had to become to survive. Do you know somebody like that? Or are you like that? Real people who gets praised for being strong, for being the Superman, while they are breaking quietly in the private. Real people who became dependable, but they lost touch with delight. Real people who became the one everybody can count on, but no longer know how to sit with themselves when nobody needs them. This is for the person who learned how to perform wellness so well that they even forget that they are hurting. They even forget anything that, oh, I'm in pains. They forget it. That person who says, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, not because they are good, but because they no longer know how to say anything else. I'm good has become so automatic. This is for the person who built a life out of should. I should be grateful, Matt. I should be stronger. I should be more mature. I should keep going. I should not need this much. I should not feel this way. And maybe tonight, for just one day, you can put down all the should and tell the truth. Because truth is where living begins. Your life begins from truth. Performance is where hiding begins. And there are too many people that are breathing right now, but they are hiding. They are producing, they are productive, but they are hiding. They are serving, but they are hiding. They are leading, but they are hiding. They are smiling, but they are hiding. And I want to help someone come out from behind that act today. Like I did say, this is going to be soul searching. This whole series is going to be this way. So stay in touch. But let us be fair tonight, okay? Let's be fair. Most people do not wake up one day and say, you know what? I want to live a false life. Or most people do not wake up and say, I want to be performing. No, 1,000 times no. While there are some outliers, some case that might be like that, but that's not what everybody is like. Most people become performance because performance helped them one time to solve a problem. It protected them once. It helped them get along once. It helped them feel safe once. Performance helped them earn approval once. So performance it often begins as adaptation. And as human, we are taught, we are trained to adapt. A child learns this very quickly. A child knows that if I'm quiet, I'm easier to love. If I'm helpful, I get noticed. If I'm strong, nobody worries about me. If I achieve, I matter. And these little lessons, these little emotional equations, they can stay in the body for decades. They can stay in your mind for decades. So now you're an adult, you're older, you're respected, you're functioning. But deep down, the same equation may still be ruining your life. If I stay loyal, I stay loved. If I stay calm, I stay included. If I stay successful, I stay valuable. That is not living. I repeat, that is not living. That is emotional mathematics. That is emotional permutation. That is survival logic. That is a life built around managing risk, not embodying truth. And I understand why people live like that. I really do. But what protects you in one season can imprison you in the next season. And one of the saddest things that can happen to a person is when a coping mechanism becomes their identity. When the thing you built to protect yourself becomes the very thing that prevents you from feeling alive. When the mask fits so well that nobody can tell if it's a mask anymore or that's your face. When even you begin to confuse the performance with the person, that is heartbreaking. Are you living or are you performing? That is still the question. See, because then people do not know you, they know your adaptation, they know your polished self, they know your useful self, they know your calm self, they know your impressive self, they know your spiritual self. Oh, they know your mature self. But do they know the real you? I dare ask, do you know the real you? Do you know the real you? You have been living a life of performance for too long that you can't even tell where you started performing. It has become life. You have adapted to performing. So performing has become your way of life. So the question now becomes, it's not about, do people even know who I am? The question is, do you know who you are? Hey, Leaf, I remember you. How you doing, sir? Do you know who you are? One of the deepest pain in life is being rewarded for the very version of yourself that is costing you the most. You are being rewarded for the very version that is costing you the most. People clapping for what is slowly killing you. People admire they admire you for what is draining you. People complimenting the strength you built out of suppression. People praising the peace you built out of silence. My friend, it hurts because it creates confusion. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks for letting me know that. It creates confusion. Now you're trapped between what feels true and what gets rewarded. You're trapped between honesty and applause. And applause is dangerous, my friends. It is dangerous. People talk about failure like it is the biggest threat. Sometimes it is not. I've always said on this channel that failure is input. Failure can interrupt you. Failure can force you to reflect. It can force you to sit down and reflect. How did I do? Why did I fail? That's a good question. Failure can make you stop. Your failure can tell you you're on the wrong track. Stop. Failure can expose cracks in your imaginary walls. But applause can trap you in a hole. Applause can seduce you into staying the same. Applause can seduce you into seeing growth and call growth problematic. Applause can make you loyal to a version of yourself that no longer feels alive. Because see, once people start clapping for you, it becomes very hard to ask whether they are clapping. Who are they even clapping for? Is it the real me or the fake me? Because they say, you are so strong. Hey, Lucas, this stream is all about, it's a question I asked. Are you living or are you performing? That's what the stream is all about. Okay? People say you are so strong. People say you are always holding it together. You're good. You're amazing. I wish I had your discipline. You're the rock. You are always there. And you smile. But inside you may be thinking, if only they knew how tired I am. If only they knew how much of this is performance. If only they knew how much of this is survival. If only they knew how much of this is fear. And there are many people this afternoon listening to me who they are being celebrated publicly while they are grieving privately. And it is one of the loneliest experiences in the world. Because when people love what you perform, telling the truth starts to feel risky. You start to wondering, if I stop being this version of me, will they still love me? If I stop over functioning, will they still respect me? If I become inconvenient, will they still stay with me? If I need more, will they still choose me? These questions, they govern entire life, entire marriages, entire careers, entire callings, entire identities. That is why we have to deal with this. Because too many people are living by reaction. Hey, Lucas, the next stream is always at night. It's always at night. Thank you. Too many people are living by reaction, living by applause, living by expectation, living by response. And anytime your identity is built on response, you become vulnerable to disappearing. I've been saying a lot. Let me slow down a little bit here because I want this to hit where it needs to hit today. Some of you are not tired because life is usually difficult right now or unusually difficult right now. Some of you are tired because you've been carrying a version of yourself that was never meant to be carried forever. You've been carrying the strong one. You've been carrying the easy one. You've been carrying the mature one. You've been carrying the always available one. You've been carrying the high capacity one. You've been carrying the wise one, the dependable one. And what nobody sees is how expensive that role has become. Nobody sees the moment when you sit in silence after everybody leaves and you feel nothing and you feel numb. Nobody sees the way you stare at the ceiling some nights because your body is tired but your soul feels restless. Nobody sees the resentment you feel towards things you used to do joyfully. Nobody sees how much effort it is just to maintain the impression of the person you are. Man, this is very heavy. Very, very heavy. And what makes it worse is that some of you do not even know how to explain what is wrong because nothing is wrong enough on paper. You're still functioning. You're still paying bills. You're still showing up. You're still doing the responsible things. You're still being a decent person. You're still moving. So now you feel guilty for feeling disconnected, guilty for feeling heavy, guilty for feeling numb, guilty for wanting one more, guilty for being tired inside the life that other people will call the blessing. But hear me, friends, hear me. You're not ungrateful because a forced life exhausts you. You're not broken because performance no longer satisfies you. You're not weak because you're tired of carrying a role. You may simply be reaching the end of your ability to betray yourself and call it maturity. See, that is not failure, it is awakening. Now you're getting awakened. I really want to get into the point of talking more about strength and all that, but I want to talk about a man. Let me tell you about a man. Maybe you know somebody like him, or maybe you are him. He's respected, he works hard, he gets up early in the morning, he provides, he stays composed, he takes care of business, he does not complain much. People around him will say, "Oh, you're solid. Oh, you're dependable. You always come through. You're built for pressure." He knows how to handle life. And maybe all of that is true, maybe. But what nobody sees is that sometimes after a long day, he sits in the car outside his own house for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Not because he does not love his family, not because he's lazy, not because he wants to run away and expire, but because the car is the only place where nobody needs anything from him for a minute. And in that car, something honest rises. Not every word, sometimes just a feeling, okay? A tiredness, a sadness, a quiet question. And maybe one night, sitting there in the dark, hands on the steering, he will ask himself, what was the last time I was a person before I was a role? What was the last time people stopped seeing me as a role? Or people stop seeing me as a person instead of as a role. When was the last time? That question would terrify him, as it should terrify you if this looks like you. Because it realizes that always every version of him that gets seen is a version built around responsibility. He's a provider, he's a protector, he's a leader, he's a worker, he's a problem solver, he's a strong person. Good roles, right? Honorable roles, necessary roles, you will say. But what is left when he takes those roles off, when he takes them off? Does he even know? That is the real person. That is human. And maybe somebody listening today has had his own version of the car moment, what I call the car moment. Maybe not in a car, maybe in a shower, maybe in a bathroom at work, maybe in a quiet kitchen when everybody has gone to bed. Maybe in an airport, maybe in a hotel room, maybe driving with no music on. A moment when the performance losing just enough for one honest thought to rise. I am tired of being what everybody needs me to be. It does not make you unloving. It does not make you irresponsible. It does not make you selfish. It means there is a person underneath the performance, and that person is asking to be seen. Is asking to be seen. There's something I term it. This is how I term it, the good person trap. I call it performance goodness too. This one is dangerous because it looks holy. It looks mature. It looks admirable. Being the good one, the one who never causes trouble, the one who always does the right thing, the one who keeps the peace, the one who forgives quickly, the one who understands, the one who sacrifices, the one who does not ask for much. And hear me carefully, hear me. There is nothing wrong with being good. Oh, I talk about that a lot on this channel. There's nothing wrong with being good. But there's something deeply painful about becoming good in a way that erases you. You're becoming good in a way that makes everybody comfortable while making yourself disappear. You're good in a way that never tells the truth. You are good in a way that never sets limits. You're good in a way that earns admiration by suppressing need. You're good in a way that makes your whole life revolve around not burdening anybody. That is not goodness. That is self erasure with clean language. And many people were trained into this. They were trained to be respectable before they were allowed to be real. They were trained to be useful before they were allowed to be honest. They were trained to be composed before they were allowed to be processed. They were trained to be matured before they were allowed to be messy. They were trained to be polite before they were allowed to be present. So now, they do not know how to tell the difference between love and approval. They do not know the difference between peace and silence. They do not know the difference between faithfulness and fear, between sacrifice and abandonment. They do not know the difference. And they call it character. But deep down, they are tired. Because character without inner life becomes performance too. Back to the question, are you living or you are performing? Are you living or this is all performance? Let me speak to another person tonight. The person who is always there. You're always there for birthdays, always there for crises, always there for conversation. You're always there to help. You're always there to carry. You're always there to show up. People love you for for being there always. They say you're such a blessing. They say, I don't know what to do without you. You always come through. You're so selfless. And maybe once upon a time, hearing that felt good. Hearing that felt makes you feel wanted. Maybe it made you feel seen. Oh, it made you feel valued. Maybe it made you feel like your existence mattered. But over time, it became a cage because now your whole identity is tied to being needed. And when your identity is tied to being needed, rest starts to feel like guilt. Silence feels wrong. Distance feels selfish. Boundaries feels cruel. Unavailability feels like failure. So you keep answering, you keep showing up, you keep helping, you keep carrying, you keep saying yes, you keep smiling, you keep telling people, of course, I'll do it. But your soul is not okay. But what do you say? I'm okay. It has become automatic to you. Are you living or are you performing? And one day, maybe you realize that every time your phone lights up, you feel tired before you even read the message. Every time your phone rings, you go into panic attack even before knowing who is calling. Every time somebody say, "Can I ask you for something?" you feel your chest tighten. Every time another demand appears, you feel irritation rise where compassion used to live. And now you feel bad for feeling that because you built your image around being the loved one or being the loving one. And maybe what you're experiencing is not lack of love, maybe it's a collapse of performance. Maybe your soul is saying, I cannot keep proving my worth by being endlessly available. That's a painful realization, my friends, but it forces a new question. Who am I if I'm not constantly needed? That question can make people cry because some people have no idea who they are outside of usefulness. They have no idea who they are outside of service. They have no idea who they are outside of responsibility, outside of being the one who holds everything together, outside of being the glue. That is not just fatigue, that is identity grief. That is the sorrow of realizing you built your whole worth around what you do for people. And now you do not know how to feel valuable without overstretching yourself, without overextending yourself. Man, this is real. I have met so many people on this channel that have reached out to me with cases like this. And see, if this is coming to you tonight, I want you to hear this clearly, okay? You are allowed to be a person, not just a function. God did not create you as a role. You were created as a person. You are allowed to rest. And you are allowed to need rest, okay? You're allowed to disappoint expectations. I said it. You are allowed to disappoint expectations. You're allowed to become less convenient. Yes. You're allowed to stop performing availability as a proof of love. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to be human. I pose the question to you again. Are you living or you're performing? Like I've always said on this channel, a lot of people do not lose themselves all at once. They lose themselves in bits and pieces. A piece disappears when they say yes instead of saying no. Oh, I did a whole full series on that. Please go check it out. A bit disappears when they hide pain to look mature. A bit disappears when they perform agreement to avoid conflict. A bit disappears when they choose image over inner truth. A piece disappears every time they betray what they know inside to keep outer approval. And because each compromise seems small, the loss is so easy to miss. Until one day, you wake up in a life you built and something in you whispers, I do not feel at home here anymore. That's a devastating moment, my friend, because you may not even hate your life. You may just feel absent from your life. But you're still showing up, you're still handling tasks, you're still doing things, but you're absent. You're present in the body, but absent in the spirit. And some of you have been absent from your own life for years. You've been laughing on cue, responding on cue, succeeding on cue, serving on cue, but not really inhabiting your own existence. That's what performance does. It keeps the machine running while the soul goes quiet. And if you do not stop it, if you do not notice it, you spend a whole decade living at a distance from your real self. I want to ask you something, and I do not want you to rush past it, okay? What part of your life currently feels the most performed? Is it your strength? Is it your peace? Is it your marriage? Is it your faith, your smile, your social media, your confidence, even your certainty? What part of your life looks more alive from the outside than it feels from the inside? Stay here for a second, okay? What part of your life? See, because whatever comes up first, that area may be the area where truth is trying to break through now. So what prompts you gets to your head, look at that area very well. That area might be the area you're trying to break through from. So why do people stay in performance if performance is not good? Why do people keep on performing? See, performance is expensive, we know that. But honesty feels risky. Trust can cost you applause. Truth. Truth can cost you applause. Truth can cost you, it can change how people see you, it can unsettle systems, it can upset roles, it can disappoint families. And some people would rather remain exhausted than face what honesty might require. Because what if the truth means slow down? What if the truth means grieving? What if the truth means changing relationships? That's scary, very scary. But hear me, life built on performance may, it may preserve acceptance while it quietly destroys peace. A life built on performance may look stable whilst having truth. A life built on performance may earn applause while costing you yourself. At some point, you have to ask, what is costing me more? At some point, you have to ask yourself, what is costing me more? Is it the discomfort of telling the truth or the slow death of staying false? What is costing me more? That is the crossroads many people are approaching. And maybe tonight is your own crossroad. I want you to picture a younger version of yourself. I'll do this very quickly. Maybe 16, maybe 20, maybe 25. Not perfect, not wiser, but closer to something. You were closer to your own heart. You were closer to your inner voice, your own inner voice. You were closer to your own longing. Now imagine that younger version of yourself standing in front of the person you are today. It's not accusing you, not condemning you, just looking at you. Will they recognize your life as will they recognize your life as yours? Will they say, yes, this is us, this feels true, this feels alive? Or will they quietly ask you, when did we start building everything around other people's expectations? When did we become this careful? When did we stop laughing like that? When did we start measuring our worth by how useful we are? When did we begin calling survival maturity? When did we learn to hide what we really feel so well? My friend, it hurts. Because many adults are not tired, they're grieving a version of themselves that got left behind, the version that felt more honest, the version that does not need every move to make sense to everybody. It hurts. I would love to go more and more and more on this. Let me quickly say this. Your body knows where performance is and where it is happening before your mind admits it. Where do you tighten up? Where do you brace up? Where do you overthink? Where do you rehearse? Where do you feel the need to stay right? Pay attention to that. Because some of you have normalized tension. You've normalized your chest tightening. You normalize your jaw clenching. You normalize emotional fatigue. You normalize the constant monitoring. You normalize the dread before setting rooms, setting calls, setting gatherings, setting conversation. And because you're high functioning, high performing, you call it normal. But normal does not always mean healthy. Familiarity does not always mean true. Sometimes the very thing you have adapted to is the thing that is stealing your aliveness. So pay attention, my friends. Where do you feel most edited? Where do you feel least at ease? Who do you become? Or let me put it this way, where do you become a version of yourself instead of being yourself? Friends, that is data, that is information, that is insight. Do not ignore it. Do not ignore it. So let me bring this home. Today is not about teaching you how to look stronger. It's about giving you permission to become real. It's about naming the cost of becoming who everybody wanted instead of becoming who you are or who is true. It's about exposing the exhaustion of performance, the loneliness of applause, the grief of self-abandonment. And above all, it was about calling you back to honesty, back to your own inner life, back to your own voice, back to the parts of you that got buried under pressure, fear, approval, and expectations. I do not know who this message is for today. I do not know. But I feel this strongly. You do not have to spend the next 10 years being applauded for a life that is quietly draining you. You do not have to keep proving yourself. You do not have to keep editing. You do not have to keep pretending. You keep over functioning. You can begin to come back home. You can begin to come back to yourself slowly, messily, honestly. You can begin to tell the truth. You can begin to ask other questions. Yes, you can begin. You can begin to stop confusing being admired with being alive. And maybe this is where this series begins. Not with answer, with honesty, with the courage to look at your life and ask, am I living or am I performing? And if the answer hurts, do not run away from it. Because pain is not always punishment, my friend. Sometimes pain is revelation. Sometimes pain is the sound of truth knocking on your door. Sometimes pain is what happens when the soul is finally ready to stop pretending. So before you go, I want you to sit with this. Where in my life have I been performing? What am I afraid will happen if I become more honest? Who did I become to stay loved, to stay accepted, to stay respected, to stay safe? Sit with that. Pray with that. Journal with that. Tell the truth with that. Because see, your real life is not waiting on more applause. It is waiting on truth. It is waiting on truth. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon, guys. Thank you for staying with me on this. And if this message found you, do not miss the next episode because the series is for people who are ready to stop surviving expectation and start living from truth. This is just the beginning. See you in the next one. This is Matt Miller saying bye for now.